Welcome to the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner Prepcast, where we guide you through everything you need to know for your certification exam. Whether you're just starting or looking to refine your knowledge, this course will set you up for success. Brought to you by baremetalcyber.com. Let's get started. Security and compliance are at the heart of cloud computing, and they are especially important when studying for the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam. AWS knows that businesses will only trust the cloud if they are confident their data is safe and their regulatory obligations are met. That is why AWS dedicates so much attention to providing tools, services, and frameworks to keep customer workloads protected. For exam candidates, this means understanding both the broad philosophy AWS follows for security and the specific services it offers to support compliance. Knowing these ideas will not only help you on the test, but also give you confidence in real-world discussions about cloud security. At the core of AWS's security philosophy is the idea of building protection into every layer of its services. Security is not an afterthought, but a foundation. This includes everything from the physical data centers, which are guarded with fences, cameras, and biometric access, to the digital defenses like encryption, firewalls, and monitoring. AWS also follows the principle of security by design, meaning its systems are created to prevent risks from the start rather than patching problems later. Customers benefit from this philosophy because they inherit a secure foundation, freeing them to focus on their own security decisions in the cloud. Compliance is another pillar of trust. AWS maintains a long list of certifications and frameworks that prove its services meet strict global standards. Examples include ISO certifications, PCI DSS for payment processing, HIPAA for healthcare, and SOC audits for financial reporting. These certifications reassure customers that AWS infrastructure meets requirements recognized by governments and industries worldwide. For businesses, this means they can adopt AWS without worrying that the platform itself falls short of regulations. Instead, their focus shifts to how they configure and use services to ensure their own compliance responsibilities are met. Encryption plays a vital role in protecting data within AWS. Encryption means transforming information into unreadable code that can only be unlocked with the right key. AWS provides multiple ways to encrypt data, both while it is stored called encryption at rest and while it is moving between systems called encryption in transit. This ensures that even if someone intercepts or accesses the data without authorization, they cannot understand it. Services like S3, RDS, and EBS all support encryption options. For exam preparation, remember that AWS provides the tools, but it is the customer's job to enable and manage them correctly. Identity and Access Management, or IAM, is one of the most fundamental security services. IAM allows organizations to control who can access their AWS resources and what they are allowed to do. Through IAM, you can create users, assign them to groups, and apply policies that grant specific permissions. For example, you might give a developer access to launch new servers, but not to change billing settings. IAM is powerful because it provides precise control. On the exam, expect questions about IAM's role in securing accounts, since it is often the first step in protecting an AWS environment. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, adds another layer of protection on top of IAM. MFA requires users to provide 2 or more forms of verification before they can log in. For example, a password plus a temporary code sent to a mobile device. This ensures that even if someone steals a password, they cannot access the account without the second factor. AWS strongly recommends enabling MFA, especially for root accounts that control billing and critical resources. For businesses, MFA is one of the simplest yet most effective security measures they can take. It dramatically reduces the risk of unauthorized access. AWS Organizations is a service that supports governance at scale. Large companies often run multiple AWS accounts for different departments or projects. Without a central management tool, controlling them can become messy. AWS Organizations allows administrators to group accounts together, apply policies across them, and consolidate billing. It also makes it easier to enforce compliance rules consistently. For example, an administrator can prevent certain services from being used in specific accounts or regions. This service is critical for businesses that need both flexibility for individual teams and oversight for the organization as a whole. AWS Config is another service that supports compliance. It continuously monitors AWS resources and records their configurations over time. This allows organizations to track changes, audit their environments, and check compliance with internal or external policies. For instance, a company might require all storage buckets to have encryption enabled. AWS Config can automatically detect any bucket that does not meet this rule and flag it for correction. Think of Config as a security camera for your AWS environment, providing visibility and evidence of how systems are set up and how they evolve. CloudTrail is a logging and auditing service. It records every API call made in an AWS account, including who made the call, when it was made, and what actions were taken. This is invaluable for investigations, compliance audits, and accountability. If there is ever suspicious activity, CloudTrail provides a trail of evidence showing exactly what happened. For exam purposes, remember that CloudTrail focuses on tracking actions and changes, while other tools may focus on performance or threat detection. In practice, CloudTrail is essential for both transparency and security in cloud operations. GuardDuty is AWS's managed threat detection service. It uses machine learning and threat intelligence to continuously analyze activity across accounts. GuardDuty looks for signs of malicious behavior, such as unusual login attempts, unauthorized data access, or communication with known malicious servers. When it detects something suspicious, it sends alerts so customers can respond quickly. GuardDuty is like having a security guard patrolling your AWS environment around the clock, trained to recognize both common and emerging threats. For customers, it reduces the need to build complex monitoring systems themselves. Security Hub brings multiple security findings together into a single view. Instead of checking separate dashboards for GuardDuty, Inspector, or Macie, customers can see everything in one place. Security Hub also helps compare current configurations against industry best practices and compliance frameworks. This makes it easier to spot gaps and prioritize fixes. Think of Security Hub as a command center for AWS security, providing a big-picture view as well as detailed findings. It streamlines the process of managing security across complex environments, especially for larger organizations with many accounts and resources. Inspector is another service that focuses on security assessments. It automatically scans AWS workloads for vulnerabilities, such as unpatched software or insecure configurations. By identifying weaknesses before attackers do, Inspector helps organizations stay ahead of threats. For example, it might detect that a server is missing a critical update, giving the customer a chance to fix it quickly. Inspector reduces the manual effort of security testing, making it a practical tool for maintaining strong defenses. For exam preparation, remember that Inspector is about scanning and assessing the security of workloads. Macie is a specialized tool for data protection. It uses machine learning to discover and classify sensitive information stored in services like Amazon S3. This includes data such as personal identifiers, credit card numbers, or health records. By automatically identifying where this information is stored, Macie helps organizations prevent accidental exposure or mismanagement. For example, it might alert you that sensitive files are stored in a bucket with overly broad permissions. This allows customers to take corrective action before problems occur. Macie is especially valuable for meeting compliance requirements around data privacy and protection. Finally, it is important to connect all of these services back to the shared responsibility model. AWS provides powerful tools and secures the infrastructure, but customers must take action to use these services correctly. Compliance is a joint effort. AWS may hold certifications, but customers must configure systems in ways that align with their own industry regulations. Understanding where AWS's responsibility ends and where yours begins is critical. For exam purposes and for real-world practice, always remember that security in the cloud is shared. Customers who embrace this model are far more successful in keeping their data safe. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Data privacy is one of the most important responsibilities for customers in the cloud. While AWS ensures the infrastructure is secure, it is up to customers to decide how personal or sensitive information is handled. For example, a hospital may store patient records in AWS, but it must choose the right level of encryption, access controls, and monitoring to meet privacy laws. Data privacy means treating information with care, limiting who can view it, and ensuring it is stored and transmitted safely. Customers cannot assume AWS automatically knows what data is sensitive. They must classify and protect it themselves. Regional compliance frameworks add another layer of complexity. Different parts of the world have different regulations that organizations must follow. For instance, the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, places strict requirements on how personal data is collected and used. AWS provides the infrastructure that supports compliance, such as offering regions in Europe to ensure data stays within EU boundaries. But once again, it is the customer's responsibility to configure services in a way that complies with those laws. Understanding regional differences is critical for organizations operating internationally. Best practices for creating IAM policies are essential for keeping AWS environments secure. Policies should be clear, specific, and designed to enforce least privilege, meaning users and systems only get the permissions they need to perform their tasks. For example, if an employee only needs to read files, they should not be given permission to delete them. Avoid broad or overly permissive policies that give users unnecessary power. AWS provides pre-built managed policies for common use cases, but customers should also create custom policies carefully tailored to their needs. Following these practices prevents accidental or intentional misuse of resources. The principle of least privilege is worth emphasizing on its own. This principle means never granting more access than necessary. Imagine giving someone a key to just the room they need to enter, rather than handing them a key ring to the entire building. Least privilege minimizes risk, since even if a user account is compromised, the attacker cannot access more than the limited resources that account was allowed. AWS encourages customers to continually review permissions and remove unused access. By enforcing least privilege, organizations reduce their exposure to threats and strengthen their overall security posture. Encryption key management is another shared responsibility. AWS Key Management Service, or KMS, allows customers to create, manage, and control keys for encrypting data. While AWS ensures the service itself is secure, customers must decide who can access the keys, how often they are rotated, and what data should be encrypted. Mismanaging keys is like leaving spare copies of house keys lying around. It makes it easier for intruders to get in. Properly managing encryption keys ensures that even if data is intercepted, it cannot be read without authorization. Customers should treat key management as one of their top priorities. Network security in AWS is supported by services like the Virtual Private Cloud, or VPC, and security groups. A VPC allows customers to create isolated environments with complete control over networking rules. Security groups act like firewalls, controlling which traffic can enter or leave resources. For example, a customer might configure a security group to allow web traffic on port 80 but block all other ports. By carefully managing these settings, organizations protect their applications from unauthorized access. AWS provides the tools, but the responsibility for designing and enforcing network security policies rests with the customer. To guard against large-scale online attacks, AWS offers Shield, which defends against distributed denial of service, or DDoS, attacks. These attacks flood systems with fake traffic, overwhelming them and preventing real users from connecting. Shield automatically detects and mitigates many such attacks, protecting customers from disruptions. However, customers must still design their systems with resilience in mind, using load balancing and multiple availability zones. Shield reduces risk significantly, but combining it with strong design choices creates the best defense. This is another example of how AWS and the customer share roles in maintaining secure systems. Logging strategies are a crucial part of security. AWS provides services like CloudTrail, CloudWatch, and Config to capture detailed records of activity, but it is up to customers to decide which logs to keep, how long to store them, and how to analyze them. Logs can reveal suspicious activity, compliance violations, or performance issues. Without a clear logging strategy, organizations may miss early signs of trouble. Good practice includes centralizing logs, setting alerts for unusual patterns, and regularly reviewing reports. Logging is not glamorous, but it is one of the most powerful tools for maintaining accountability in the cloud. Automation can make security stronger and more consistent. AWS offers tools to automatically enforce policies, apply patches, and respond to threats. Automation reduces human error, which is often the weakest link in security. For example, AWS Config can automatically remediate misconfigurations, and Lambda functions can trigger alerts when suspicious activity is detected. By automating repetitive tasks, organizations ensure that security controls are applied consistently, even at large scale. This not only saves time, but also reduces the chance that something will be overlooked. Automation turns security from a reactive effort into a proactive, ongoing process. It is also important to understand how responsibilities shift across service models. In infrastructure as a service, customers control operating systems and applications, so their responsibilities are broader. In platform as a service, AWS manages more of the environment, narrowing customer duties. In software as a service, customers focus mainly on account and data security. Recognizing how roles shift with each model prevents misunderstandings. The exam may test this knowledge directly, so be ready to explain which tasks fall to AWS and which belong to the customer in different service categories. The AWS well-architected framework includes a security pillar, which provides best practices for designing secure systems. This pillar encourages principles like enabling traceability, applying security at all layers, and automating responses to incidents. By following the framework, customers can ensure their AWS environments are not only functional but also resilient against threats. The well-architected security pillar is a helpful guide for both beginners and experts, providing a checklist of practices that reduce risk. For exam preparation, it is worth remembering that security is built into good architecture, not added as an afterthought. Continual monitoring is another cornerstone of cloud security. Unlike a one-time project, security requires constant attention. Systems change, threats evolve, and user behavior shifts. AWS services like GuardDuty, Security Hub, and CloudWatch help maintain this visibility, but customers must commit to monitoring results and acting on alerts. Regular reviews and updates ensure defenses remain strong. Continual monitoring is like regular health checkups. It keeps systems in good shape and identifies problems before they become serious. It is not optional but essential for maintaining trust in cloud operations. Ultimately, security in AWS is not a box to check but an ongoing process. It requires combining AWS's secure foundation with customer vigilance and good practices. Threats will continue to evolve, and new compliance standards will emerge, but the shared responsibility model and AWS tools provide a strong framework for meeting those challenges. For exam purposes, the key takeaway is that security and compliance are continuous commitments. For real-world use, it is the knowledge that security in the cloud is achievable when both AWS and the customer play their parts consistently and responsibly. As we close this episode, remember that security and compliance are not just topics for a test. They are the foundation of trust in the AWS cloud. Businesses rely on AWS not only for its technology, but for its ability to protect their data and meet global standards. Customers, in turn, must take responsibility for their side of the model by using the tools AWS provides effectively. This partnership builds the confidence that allows cloud adoption to flourish. By mastering these concepts, you will be ready for the exam and better prepared to contribute to secure cloud operations in the real world. That concludes today's episode of the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner Prepcast. Be sure to tune in for the next episode and visit us online at baremetalcyber.com or cyberauthor.me for more resources, including news, mailing lists, YouTube videos, podcasts, and much more.